Okay, so we'll start the session. So good evening, everyone. Firstly, I would like to thank all the participants for joining in today, taking the time out from their busy weekends and joining in. So thank you so much. Well, it's a very special day because we have with us Mr. Samir Arora today. Samir ji, first of all, I would like to thank you for accepting our request and agreeing to come on the show.
Thank you.
At AIF and PMS Experts India, we keep organizing these knowledge-based sessions, and we got a lot of requests from a lot of our investors, and they wanted you to come on our show called Ask the Expert and share your valuable insights. So once again, thank you so much and
Thank you.
for
Thank you, Ji.
accepting the request. Yeah. So let me have the privilege of introducing Samir ji for those who may be hearing him for the first time. So he is the founder and fund manager at Helios Capital. In fact, they've recently started their portfolio management services in India as well. It's been about 1.5 years now as we speak. So Samir ji doesn't need any kind of introduction. He's got more than 25 years of experience. He's from IIT Delhi. He's completed his MBA from IIM Kolkata. He's also did his MBA from Wharton School of University in finance. So he brings about 25 years of experience, and before working with Helios, and he used to work for Reliance Capital as a chief investment officer. And during his stint, he's got about more than 15 awards for delivering the deliverables in the hand of investors. And one of the remarkable achievement was then when S&P ranked him as AAA fund manager and rewarded him with a lot of respect. So that was one thing which is a remarkable achievement, I would say, in his 25 years of career. And we've got an opportunity to hear him a lot in various forums, and today we are grateful to have him on our show called Ask the Expert. So we'll be speaking to him. So Samir ji, tomorrow is our 75th Independence Day. So let me start by asking you my first question. In last 75 years, you have seen India growing, and you've spent 26.
No, I have not seen. I have seen only for 59 years.
Yeah.
75.
Yeah.
I am old, but not that old.
Sure. So in the sense that you've been investing in equity markets for over 26 years, and post independence, we saw till about 1990, we saw industrialization happening, and then from 1991, UPA 1 came into picture, opened up the economy by Dr. Manmohan Singh, and then IT surveys, all that started contributing. So if I have to ask you my first question, where do you see our economy stand as we speak today in last 75 years, and where are we headed according to you?
So, thank you very much, by the way, for hosting me. So I have been involved in the market formally in a job sense 3 weeks before Indian reform started. So I joined Alliance Capital in June 1991. And the Indian reform started in July 1991 with Dr. Manmohan Singh's speech. And so now when I talk about India, I would say there have been 3 phases. The first phase was this phase where the government basically did things like reducing taxes, allowing foreign investors into the market, and opening all these sectors that were close to private companies and were run by state-owned companies. So like mutual fund business, banking business, insurance business, later on telecom, so media. So in those days, big money was made by us by going into sectors where private companies were allowed and state-owned companies were the defenders. And so that phase, you can say globalization and reduction of tariffs. So if you avoided all the businesses where tariffs were to be reduced, and it was known because these tariffs were starting at 100% and were supposed to go to 10% over some 10 years. The second phase, which started in, you can say 2003, 4, 5, was more to do with things like that, further reduction in taxes, but more than that, that we will try and have right to information and in theory less corruption, although that didn't work out in that second phase, or second UPA or whatever. But in general, it was more to do with quality of life of people. But in the first phase and even in the second phase, the real thing that the government did was to say, we will not do these things, now you do them. So we will not run telecom, you run them, or we will not make a road, you can make a road, or you can make a toll road and stuff like that. But there was no change for, say, the 60-70% of the rest of India which was not, there was nobody saying, I will put more in irrigation, I will put more in making your plants, your agriculture more stable, or for you to get some insurance or whatever. So in the third phase now, things have gone on that, in that direction, that let us make the strength of the average Indian a little stronger, that his medical expenses are met, that his, if a crop failure happens, he doesn't blow up, that his benefits are given to him in a whatever DBT form and stuff like that. So from a stock market point of view, the real money was made in the first and second phase. Now it is strengthening maybe the overall economy. But from a stock market point of view, or from a private sector point of view, it is not necessarily great if you do lots of reforms for the stock market. I mean, for example, if there are 10 banks and you now say we are giving 20 more licenses, it looks like reform, but it hurts those 10 banks. And in the end, there are 20 banks operating, and therefore everybody makes less money in the same pie. So it has become tougher again and again. But in general, this is the natural next step for an economy, that you must do things which are to do with average janta also doing better, not just that in a city now you can go to a multiplex mall, or your mall has been made, because those were the first two rounds of liberalization, when we did not have like we had to wait for a telephone, or there was one mall in Delhi called the air conditioned market or whatever. So those things are, you're basically allowing private sector to come in. The real reform is now to privatize some airline, to sell off some state-owned companies, to sell off loss-making companies, or even profit-making companies. But this is a tough one from that point of view of the economy. और अब असली पता लगेगा कि actually what has been done so far relatively has been an easy thing, because you've just said, okay, please come and do it. And you just gave them a license, or basically allowed them to do things. Now you have to change long held this thing, problems, and it's much tougher now, because easy things have been done. So I would think India is good, but it is not ki, oh, it is the best thing ever, कि इससे बढ़िया कोई वर्ल्ड में टाइम नहीं था इंडिया का. It has to do this for a long time, and then people will see impact in their lives.
But Samit ji, मुझे याद है एक समय था इंडिया वाज कॉल्ड एज सोने की चिड़िया, एंड देन एवरीथिंग वेंट
वो तो खाली वो जिनके एड में था, वो कंपनी बैंकरप्ट हो चुकी है. उस कंपनी का नाम था फॉर्च्यून, अपना कौन है, अपना पैंटलून वालों का ये एड था. पैंटलून बैंकरप्ट हो गया बेचारा सोचकर. No, but of course, see, इंडिया की एडवांटेज ये है कि इंडिया में कैचअप growth बहुत potential है. That is the one which is how we should treat it. That India is at a stage where other countries were 10-20 years ago, and that natural catching up has to happen. उसमें तो कोई confusion ही नहीं है. I only say कि to invest in the market, we don't have to be super bullish. It is enough to be bullish. पर स्टोरी नहीं मैं बताता कि ओहो ये तो पता नहीं क्या होने वाला है. वो होगा तो we'll be there, because we are not going to any other market to invest. But I'm saying we don't need hyper story to say that India is a very good market. And of course, a good country, but good country may we have to change so many lives, so many people have to be carried along. So that is the tough part for any government or anybody to do so easily in a short period of time.
Samit ji, इसमें I remember Piyush Goyal ji categorically mentioned at one point of time that India has the potential to become $10 trillion economy.
So absolutely it has. Only question is time. ऐसे तो मैं कहता हूँ कि जी हमारा BSE सेंसेक्स 250,000 हो जाएगा. किसी दिन वो 250,000 होगा और किसी दिन वो 10 ट्रिलियन होगी. बिकॉज आप अज्यूम करो से 8% पर एनम, लेट्स से, ठीक है ना. सो 8% पर एनम में 10 इयर्स करेंगे तो कितना हो जाएगा, मे बी 2.1 टाइम्स 2.2 टाइम्स हो जाएगा. सो अभी 3 है, तो 7.5 हो जाएगा या 7.3 हो जाएगा, फिर उसके बाद आप 3-4 साल लगाओगे तो वो 10 हो जाएगा. So it all depends on time that you are assuming it will take. So one day it will reach 10 trillion because every year we will grow at least 6, 7 in bad times and maybe 8, 9 in good times. So that doesn't mean much. हमें annual देखना है कि कितना reasonable हम expectation कर रहे हैं, which is say 8, let's say.
8 is
If
what,
we,
including inflation?
8 is in dollar terms or in constant this thing terms. Correct. Not in nominal terms. But जब आप 10 trillion भी बोल रहे हो, तो आप divide dollar से कर रहे हो ना, आप rupees में बात नहीं कर रहे हो.
Yes.
You're not doing 10 trillion into whatever number of rupees.
Correct.
So इसलिए वो 12-13 से नहीं multiply कर सकते.
Correct. So 8
है
is
ना? तो we are taking 8ish, which is a more real this thing, net of inflation or in dollar terms. So 10 trillion will reach one day for sure.
Okay. So what is your house view about equity? So I keep getting this feedback from the next 3 years looks extremely good. Next 5 years,
Yeah.
$5 trillion.
So the thing is, I have been doing it for 25 years, but the market has been doing it for hundreds of years in the world. So there are many books. One book I have, please don't buy it because it's not really a book. It is more like a professor's ka wo hai, data ka. It's called The Triumph of the Optimist. तो यूके के लंदन बिजनेस स्कूल के प्रोफेसर्स हैं, तो उन्होंने 100 जितना भी उनको डेटा मिला, बेसिकली दे वर एबल टू कलेक्ट फॉर 16 कंट्रीज 100 years of data of equity market, and then US, because it exists for longer, they've been able to get 200 years of data. अब उसमें in all these countries in a decade at a time अगर उन्होंने market को लिया, so every this thing, the average equity market beat the fixed income long-term bond, which is 10-year bond, by around 6% per annum. But ये साल to साल नहीं है, but annualized. If you take whole 100 years or you take 10 years and take average, so कि ना लगे कि कोई पहले patch में बहुत बढ़ गया था और बाद में नहीं बढ़ा, और it went up for 30 years and then didn't go up for 40 years kind of thing. वो नहीं है. It broadly beats. India का भी यही रहा है. India का हमारा return रहा है around market का around 15% per annum in rupee terms, which is more or less the same. आप पहले 6-7% इंटरेस्ट होता है, 5-6%, 7% आपने वो जोड़ दिया equity risk premium. So in any normal, slightly longer term, you should expect for the index to get 14-15%. That is why Ramdev Agarwal ji ने अभी present किया कि how the index will go to 2 lakh. It is very natural. उन्होंने 15, मतलब it reverse calculate कर तो 15% per annum पे compounding करी. And 15% is our history. It also is in line with this interest rate plus equity risk premium. It is also in line with nominal GDP growth, which will be in nominal terms. अगर आप डॉलर में कहोगे GDP growth 8-8.5% है, 4-5% आपका inflation हो गई तो 13% हो गया. उसके बाद आप कहोगे कि corporate earnings are a little bit more than GDP because the corporate sector is a little better than the overall GDP because GDP में 20% या 15% agriculture है, कुछ government spending है, तो वो corporate sector because it can also pull growth from exports and outside and whatever, तो 14-15% आप broadly. लेकिन अब क्या होता है, ये it's not year to year. उसके बदले में आपको 7% एक्स्ट्रा मिल रहा है ना डेट से, कि भाई ये स्टेडी नहीं आएगा, ये आराम से आएगा, लेकिन आ जाता है घूम फिर के.
But Mera
So that is the answer.
Another subsequent question, Sameer, if you look at last 5-6 years, particularly last 3-4 years, earnings are not growing. Only
Correct.
markets are doing. So what
no,
is
actually they are not. Actually, लगता है कि markets are doing. If you look at 2014 से शुरू करते हैं, 2014 was a good year. 15 से शुरू करते हैं. So 2015 में market was, I think, down 3-4% if I remember. 2016 में it was 0. 2017 में it was up some 35-40%. 2018 में it was down 3-5%. 2019 में it was around 10%. 2020 में it is around 20% full year. Not ये 1 year ago, वो तो हम सब 85% हो गए वो, but calendar year अगर आप लें तो 20%. And 21 में year to date लें, so maybe 18-20%. So इन दी एंड वो 13-14% ही है, कोई उससे भी कम होगा because of 2-3 bad years, 15, 16 and 18 when it was 0 to negative. पर एक 35%, 38, 40% वाला year रहा है, which is 17. So although I agree with you and everybody says कि earnings growth नहीं आई है, वो actually earnings growth आई है. What has happened is वो टाटा स्टील की नहीं आती, वो suddenly टाटा मोटर की नहीं आती, वो इतने बड़े chunks हैं उनके कि when they make money or they lose money, they change our entire EPS of the market or the index. But if you leave out 10, 15 stocks from the top, and you leave out 10 stocks from the bottom in a 100 stock universe, आपके 70 stocks ही ठीक अर्निंग ग्रोथ आई है, 10-15% आई होगी पक्का. सारे कंज्यूमर वालों की आई, सारे सॉफ्टवेयर वालों की 10-15% तो ईपीएस ग्रोथ आई, फार्मा वालों की आई, अब बैंक्स की सारों की आई मोस्टली. आई मीन नॉट द पीएसयू बैंक्स अगेन, आई एम सेइंग you could have chosen 65-70 stocks out of 100 and you got 15% return. वो 30 stocks जो है वो इतने violent है in terms of suddenly from going from losses to profits or profits to losses. तो लगता है कि जी corporate earnings नहीं आई है. Corporate earnings आई है जिसकी आ रही थी, अब जिसकी नहीं है उसका हम क्या करें.
Sure.
So don't look at it as an aggregate number. Aggregate number में टाटा स्टील ही पूरा चेंज कर देता है हमारे पूरे corporate sector की earnings को. So आजकल because Tata Steel and all the steel guys are doing well, actually our earnings are coming, but the earnings इन कंपनियों का multiple होता है 6, वो दूसरी कंपनी का multiple होता है 30. तो in theory इस earning का market पे ज्यादा वो नहीं होना चाहिए impact in that sense, because these are low multiple earnings.
And that's so
they come all the time. It's not nobody's growing. Of course they've been growing. Yeah.
Okay, understood. So now coming back to different style of investment, Samirji. So we keep interacting with a lot of fund managers. Some fund managers, they follow value investing, some follow growth, some looks at contrarian view, some are GARP. So what do you think, which one is the
that is a presentation I'm going to make today. But before I make that presentation, मैं आपको 2 लाइनें सुनाता हूँ. अब हम हैं पढ़े लिखे लोग हैं सारे, हमारे क्लासमेट भी हैं जो भी आईआईटी में चले गए, आईएम में चले गए, वॉटन स्कूल चले गए. अब वो आके मुझे बोले कि जी मैं ग्लोबल फंड मैनेज करता हूँ, तो मैं जी 40 कंट्रीज में इन्वेस्ट करता हूँ, 12 यूरोप में, 10 एशिया में, और मैं यूएस में, और फिर मैं लैटिन अमेरिका में, और हम कहें जी हम इंडिया में इन्वेस्ट करते हैं, और उसमें भी हमारी हिम्मत खाली गार्प करने की है कि टार्प करने की है, उसमें भी वैल्यू लेते हैं कि ग्रोथ लेते हैं. कुछ शर्म भी तो हमें आनी चाहिए कि हम पहले ही 1% ऑफ वर्ल्ड को मैनेज कर रहे हैं. 1 भी नहीं है वैसे एक्चुअली, इंडेक्स में 0.8 है शायद वर्ल्ड इंडेक्स में. उसमें मैं और इतना लेजी हो जाऊं कि भाई मैं सेम टाइम पे स्टेट बैंक और एचडीएफसी बैंक दोनों नहीं ले सकता, क्योंकि मेरी थ्योरी के हिसाब से या तो वैल्यू चलना चाहिए या ग्रोथ चलना चाहिए. ये फॉर्मूला इज अ डिफीटिस्ट फॉर्मूला, इट्स अ स्टोरी टेलिंग फॉर्मूला, and I will show you my performance for the last 25 years after this, and also the formula that we have. ऐसे इतने माइक्रो फॉर्मूले नहीं हो सकते लाइफ में, बिकॉज व्हाट हैपेंस विद दैट इज दैट यू कीप वेटिंग फॉर दैट ट्रेंड टू कैच. तो अगर मैं बोलूं कि जी मैं वैल्यू खरीदता हूं, अब सडनली वर्ल्ड में बोलेंगे आजकल वैल्यू स्टॉक्स नहीं चल रहे, 7 साल से हमारे एक फंड मैनेजर जी वेट कर रहे हैं कि जी हमारे सिक्लिकल स्टॉक चलेंगे. अब ऐसे हम कोई अपने शौक थोड़ा पूरे कर रहे हैं. Why can't I at the same time say one stock I'm buying because it is very high quality, and one stock because it is very poor quality but very cheap? इसमें क्या मेरे को conflict क्या हो गया? Every stock has to be justified on its own. कि इसमें ये स्टोरी है जी, इसमें स्टोरी है, ये बड़ा हाई पी का स्टॉक है, लेकिन इनकी ग्रोथ बड़ी अच्छी होती है, और हम कहें हाँ जी होती तो है और हो भी रही है. और दूसरा बोले कि ये स्टॉक जो है ये अभी ब्रेकअप होने वाला है क्योंकि ये इतना चीप हो गया है कि इसको तो कोई ब्रेकअप कर देगा और इसमें एक्टिविस्ट आ जाएगा. इंडिया में तो एक्टिविस्ट आते नहीं है, बट आई एम सेइंग इन अ बिग पिक्चर. तो उसमें गलत क्या है टू से कि बोथ लुक वेरी फेयर टू अस, एंड दैट इज द फॉर्मूला व्हिच आई विल शो यू. देयर इज नो सच फॉर्मूला कि हम ये पहले ही बेचारे 1% ऑफ मार्केट को लेके, हमारा फ्रेंड कहे मैं 40 कंट्रीज में इन्वेस्ट करता हूँ, मैं कहूंगा जी 1% का मैं 0.2 में इन्वेस्ट करता हूँ, ऐसे नहीं करता.
So Samirji, you were voted, I remember you were voted as the astute equity investor in Singapore. It was #1 in terms of...
Not astute, most astute.
Most astute. So what I wanted to know, what was the reason for you to not to start your PMS or mutual fund business in India?
What a goof up I did, because I used to think we should raise money from outside and invest it in India. So we continued with that, and then we tied up with ICICI Prudential Asset Management, which happens to be the third largest mutual fund company of India and has only 10 times the number of analysts we have. So we became their advisor for one of the funds, and that fund did very well. I'll show you that performance also. But what happened is that they became too big. So they also lost interest in marketing a fund in which they were only 50% partners. And we also thought, ki, chalo, hamara kaam ho gaya. We are advising them, they'll raise the money. And then we continued. Then finally, we decided, ki, chalo, isme thoda serious kiya jaye. All we have to do is take in that ourselves. So that is what we are doing now. So basically, it was our foolishness. We should have grasped the fact that India is not only a place to invest money, but that you can raise and invest. That's the big difference in thinking, nothing more complicated than that.
So you've also
So that's where now we've even applied for a mutual fund license, because once you get bullish on that part, then bloody let's go the whole way. Abhi otherwise हम foreigner से पैसे लेके India में डालते थे.
Yeah. So, but when you look at India, I mean, you're based out of Singapore, and when you take a bird view, what is the kind of sense? Because overall, we don't, as you rightly said, don't even contribute 1% in terms of the market cap overall.
That is for the world. That's for world level.
Yeah, world level. So
no,
how?
But okay, होता है world level. हम वो तो कहने के लिए है, because there are fund managers who have been given money to invest in Asia. There are fund managers who've been given money to invest in emerging markets. तो उसमें इंडिया का वेट अच्छा है. इंडिया का वेट इमर्जिंग मार्केट्स में करीब 10-11% है. Okay, and उसमें India mostly people overweight. Like when I used to invest in Asia, I used to have 15% in India instead of 10. उसमें शायद 8% होता था weight, and maybe we were 14-15%. So that way there is enough activity, business growth, opportunity. I was just saying in the context of just exaggerating by saying, यार एक छोटी सी मार्केट में हम 4 स्टॉक अलग अलग क्यों नहीं ले सकते, ये मेरा पॉइंट था. But even that I'll show you the whole strategy. But otherwise India is right now is very hot. Everybody likes India. India को चाइना के उससे भी बहुत फायदा होगा. Because China's weightage in these indices will be around after the fall. अभी जो fall हुई है उनकी around 33% weight है और हमारा करीब 10-11 है. So 3 times है weight अभी. And they don't seem to be giving up. They are not trying to hold the hand of the market कि चलो चलो ये हो गया and now we'll be good guys. They are saying नहीं अभी तो 2 साल चलेगा ये. Every day they are coming out with new and new restrictions, which are not restrictions, but these are comments made by their उनका paper या उनकी पार्टी का कोई बंदा या whoever everybody believes. So they say gaming, बच्चों को वीकेंड में खाली 2 घंटे खेलने दीजिए, इवनिंग में मत खेलने दो, काइंड ऑफ थिंग. देन दे से मॉर्टगेज में ये नहीं होना चाहिए. आज उन्होंने कह दिया है दैट इफ एनीबडी पोस्ट एनीथिंग ऑन सोशल मीडिया विच इज ऑब्सीन और एंटी नेशनल और ये और वो, उसको बंद कर देंगे. तो फिर और वो ये जो सोशल मीडिया कंपनीज हैं वो पैनिक में आ जाते. सो बेसिकली दे आर गोइंग आफ्टर एवरीबडी. सो इफ दे आर गोइंग आफ्टर एवरीबडी, द गाय हुज इन्वेस्टेड इन दैट मार्केट कुछ तो डरेगा, 10-15% भी डरेगा. तो वो चाइना में जो डाल रहा है वो सडनली उस पैसे को अगर डालना है तो इंडिया टाइप में डालेगा. ही विल देन नॉट पुट इट इन कि आई डोंट वांट चाइना एंड आई वांट यूएस. आई थिंक हु नोज. बट इंडिया विल डेफिनेटली benefit from slightly less interest in China and quite a bit of frustration in China. So and anyway India was being liked. So it is not कि इंडिया भी आपको पसंद नहीं था, चाइना आप पसंद नहीं है, तो अब वो जो नहीं पसंद था वो आपको पसंद आ गया, ये नहीं है. You were anyway liking India, so you can. It's easier to say, add another few percent here from there, because whoever is managing emerging market money, he has to invest it within emerging market.
Yes.
And he will not go to his client to say, I don't like China. China was 1/3 of the index. Please take this money back. Okay, नहीं जी मैं इंडिया जा रहा हूँ. Don't worry. मेरे से पैसे वापस मत लो. So
this is part of the weightages. It has.
It's part of the thing. You have given money. Don't worry. I have found better things somewhere else, and that's somewhere else. Quite a large part of that will be India, according to me, because that is the most closest in terms of how people would look at these markets. So India is quite good, very good in these things. Yeah.
So Samiji, we got a lot of requests from investors. They would like to know how is your India team is positioned when they are managing PMS, how many of them are there now, and what's
Yeah. So let me, because I thought that we have told them that we will tell them what is Helios philosophy and all, because my philosophy is not the philosophy of this of the country fund manager. So let me explain that, and that team will also come. But in a big picture sense, so we have now 22 employees, 7 in Singapore and 15 in India. So pre the launch of this fund, we were all basically, then also we had about 10 guys in India. Now we have 15 because we need sales people now. So we were all working towards our offshore fund. And our offshore fund, we have a long short fund, which is a bit good, which I will show you. It's a bit different. And my returns are a bit different from anybody in India, I would show you. So वो सब उसमें काम होता था. अब उसमें से ही, क्योंकि team तो same है, except that you have the fund managers in India, but basically you're choosing the same stocks, and the one vehicle, which is the PMS, is getting the long only stocks, and in the offshore fund we get the long plus we short. But otherwise the team is the same, and of course more people are being hired as we go, because now we are stepping up our bet on India. So it's one team in that sense.
Sure. So there is nothing called Helios way of investing, or there is no framework in which you operate. So
there is a Helios way of investing. That is of investing which I have come to present to you right now. So if you let me now, I will present that, and it'll blow your mind off. Please, so please. I will do that whenever you say which is the Helios way. So should I start on that? Okay, great.
Go ahead,
Okay, thanks. Because otherwise the whole thing was key. Let me present that, huh?
Yeah. So because there are a lot of investors who are keen to know how do you manage.
Yeah. Because it's a bit different also. I am very proud to show it, because it challenges each and everything that anybody in India believes in, because what they believe in is not as good as what we believe in. Let me show you. Acha ji, who can share? Can you please? I have to give. Okay, now I do. Yeah. So now I think it'll come. Yeah, it come now. Correct. Okay, ji. So this, okay. So basically I've come to talk about the investment philosophy and strategy of Helios as what I have developed over the last 25 years, in which the few years of alliance was taken in figuring out what do we believe in. And then it's been running for at least 20 years. So, but before I start on the philosophy and how it is different, I must first show you results of that philosophy, so that everybody takes it seriously. I have taken this concept from, like Ramdev Agarwal presents how he went from so many crores to so many crores, and then he draws conclusions on what worked for him. And for me, what worked, I'll show you. So big picture first. So these are all the funds that I managed at Alliance and Helios. These are all equity funds, except the bottom one, which was Alliance 95, and the Helios Strategic Fund is in dollars. The fund on the right, that Helios India Alpha, is in dollars. So in all of them, first of all, big picture, you can see big difference between the index and us. So Alliance tax relief during that period, market was of 52%. We were up 997%. Market, that means was one became 1.5, he became 11. Same thing with Alliance equity. Same thing in Helios Strategic and all, except that this is in dollar. So just to dramatize this for you, I have put it as one performance, and then I'll come to my philosophy. So here what we've done is, as if I was running one fund throughout. So I have taken the Alliance longest equity fund, and then taken the Helios fund and converted it to rupees, because the Helios fund is in dollars, where the Alliance funds were in rupees. And for the period between Alliance and Helios, I've taken as if I had index performance. I'll also show you what was the strategy performance in terms of what was the Alliance fund's performance after I left Alliance. Because this is not so much my track record, this is also as much the track record of this strategy or philosophy, which I'll explain. But here I've taken just index for the period when I was not either at Alliance or at Helios. So during my time, the market is up 23 times. And in this, there is no other assumption. There is no back testing. There is no this new PMS formula that I bought Asian Paints today. But if I had bought it 20 years ago, my return would have been this. No, no, no. This is all actual. Only thing is dollar converted to rupee. So it is up 333 times. Okay. But then to compete with these guys who say prop money, or how much have we been able to extract from the market? Because 333 times has been made in a fund or two funds where there is a big expense ratio for 25 years. So forget about what is my fee. We want to first see to you, because the guys listening are all individuals, what they can extract from the market, or what Mr. Jhunjhunwala extracted, or what Ramdev Agarwal extracted, who are not paying a fee to anybody. So all we've done is added 2% to each of the 25 years on a monthly basis. So 2 by 12, because there's a compounding of that. So from the market, pre any fee, the NAV would be up 530. That means if I or somebody was following this strategy on a prop basis, it is up 536 times, while the market is up 23 times. And to put it in perspective, this was the Alliance Day. So during the period when I was not there, the NA market was up 102.9 as we showed. Our NAV was up. R means it was not mine. I had already left Alliance, but the strategy was hopefully similar or 90% similar. The fund, even after I left, massively outperformed the market. It was up 198%. So just to dramatize means here, if we were to say not me, but the strategy, and instead of 102% between July 2003 and July 2005, I was to make it 198. It is 700-800%. So that is the story I'll tell you. But the first is just to put it in perspective, that this has been the return of the stocks over this period, of some of the stocks. There are many other stocks. But the point is, even the best stocks are not up 500-600 times. And how is it that a fund or two funds, but basically, as I said, laid back to back, how can a fund be up 500 times when the underlying constituents are not up 500 times? And we say we are diversified. We don't let a stock go up beyond 10%. At 7.5%, we don't buy. We hold 35 stocks, and we didn't have any Pidilite nearly all of this time. But and Wipro also we didn't really have, but others we may have had at various times. But the point is, all these stocks, why is it that we act arrogant that we have seen these multi-baggers? Because our fund has been a bigger multi-bagger. That is a story I want to share with the world as my Independence Day contribution to the Indian market. So the question number one is, how would you have chosen stock? The tougher part is, it is very easy to say, it is very easy to say that, you today analyze an HDFC Bank and say, oh, HDFC Bank has been great for 25 years. I would have bought it in 1996 and I would have been a hero. So Kotak Bank, we are comparing it from 1996, but in 1996, Kotak Bank was not a bank. Kotak Bank was a broker. It became a bank in 2003. But then people come and tell us that this formula that we have today of finding management, finding corporate governance, finding allocation of capital, if I had done this, we would have found Kotak Bank. Sorry, you wouldn't have found, because it was not a bank also. And in 2003, when it became a bank, and you say that I look at 10-year history, so I know quality of management and all that. That means till 2013, you could not have bought Kotak Bank. So you would not have made 500 times. This has to be built in. The other thing is, stocks were already very good. How would you choose? So look here, this is what I've done. I have taken, I got old reports from Motilal, because I needed some old broker reports for this point. That look at Nestle. This report is from Motilal, and this was dated 25/3/1999. Okay, and the same analyst in Motilal wrote a report on levers on 21/1/1999. How would you have chosen one over the other? You have to think of these things, before you come to the philosophy. It is very easy to say, oh, we should buy Nestle. But in live in 99, how would you have chosen Nestle over Lever? Please see. They look nearly the same. Now you look at the performance of these stocks. This is for the next 5 years, but I just saw it till today. Till today, Lever from this day has underperformed the market, which is some 18 times, and Nestle is up 48 times. How in 1999 would you have chosen Nestle over Lever? Just like how you would have in 1996 chosen Kotak Bank. You wouldn't have chosen. So don't tell us what is the wealth generation from Kotak Bank in 25 years, because all the formulas that you want to apply today, you could not have applied that day on that investment. So I found another one, because this is one of our other ones, and this many people made a lot of money, which was iShares. Okay. So this, I just searched on the net because I knew this report was there. So this report is dated October 19, 2008. We bought iShares in 2009 and went up some 50, 60 times. But please see this report and see what is the interesting thing here. This is available on the net. All you have to do is type iShares Motor Report, Sanjay Bakshi, professor, whatever. He says that we get cash and this and that, and a motorcycle business, minor. It is his word. I have not made it. The only thing that has worked in this period is the motorcycle. And in 2009, motorcycle was not discussed. We went and met the management for 1 hour, 2, 3 times, and we didn't even ask them, hello, you have a motorcycle business, what happened? Nobody was interested. And here is a confirmation in writing. How do you incorporate that? That should be the strategy. Strategy is not to say I buy a high ROE or high ROC or whatever. So now let me start. Because the whole point is nobody knows anything about anything beyond a point. What we are buying are options of businesses, not businesses. Because nobody knows how that business will do. Nobody knows in 2000 and when was it, 11, we bought Bajaj Finance. Nobody knows, even Mr. Jain does not know that he's such a big hero. Nobody knows. That is the whole story. So let me start with the assumption that nobody knows anything, because that is the way of making. So anyway, so we say there are 4 ways, not 4 ways, there are 4 pillars in building a portfolio. And this whole world concentrates on only the first, which stocks to buy, which stocks to buy, which stocks to buy. Which stocks to buy is maybe 80% of the job, but it is not 100% of the job. Because you need consistency across years for different people to also have good experience. Because ultimately this products, all this thing is not been my prop money. They all have been funds that we have been managing, and we may have had our own money in it, but it was not a prop fund that we were running. So, for example, if somebody tells me that this stock is very good, it is deeply undervalued, and in 10 years you should make a lot of money, I cannot buy it in my fund if I really believed it. First of all, I don't believe any of these because I don't believe anybody knows anything about anything anyway. But if you believe that, it is not enough for me as a fund manager to say that from year 1 to 10, I have outperformed, but between year 1 and 8, I underperformed. But in 9th year, I made so much money, because investors were coming in every year, going out every year. And maybe the guy who comes in year 8 and will feel that I'm a hero, but I want everybody to have a pleasant experience. So that is one part. Second is, it is not enough to say, I buy stocks, whichever stock, satisfies us, we buy it. We must have an idea of how many stocks to own at a time and why. And neither is it enough to say that because Warren Buffett said that 10 stocks should be owned, we should have 10 stocks. I hope we've demonstrated, because we have never owned less than 35, 40 stocks, that nobody, not including the big billionaire investors of our country, have made 535 times. I can show you, at least pre-cost. So I explain why. Then what is the time horizon for which you are choosing the stock? Now, how is it conceptually that if there were not even 20 stocks that went up 400-500 times, how does a fund go up 400-500 times? Is because in between stocks went up 50 times and in the end are up 10 times, or they went up 200 times. And then in the end, when you count point to point, they're up some 15, 20 times. For example, Z. So Z, I just checked that Z from 96 to today is up 62 times. Whereas I have made 100 times in it from 97 December to 2000 March. But in the overall frame of things, it has disappeared from these high performing stocks. In fact, the most interesting is Unitech. So Unitech went from 2003 December to 2007 December 550 times. Actually, we made 5 times out of that 550. But that 5 times gets lost if you say over 20 years, only 10 companies have made money, because in between it went up 550 times. And we were not speculating when we bought a little bit of Unitech. I'll come to that. The point is, it was fair for a 2% bet at that time. It is not that we knew that in 2016 this guy will go to jail and in 17 it will be zero, but I still want to take pangas and I still want to buy. No. So this idea that 20-year I will look, 20-year I will look, I will tell you another one. Aban Lloyd from 2003 to 2007 went up 55 times. It started at zero, it has ended at zero, but we made some 4 times out of it while it was up 55 times, because we bought it a little late, and we sold it a little late, or we sold it a little early. But when you look at it over 20 years and say, oh, which businesses have made money, what do you say? What do you say to General Electric? It has now gone, but the Jack Welch became a billionaire. But we are not buying, and nobody is buying a stock saying, I am buying the stock knowing that in 20 years it will not be surviving. No, it was worthy of a small bet at that time. That is the story which I come. So we say that what are the factors that are associated with a well-performing stock? The factors, normally, if you write down, these will be the factors. You will say it should have a good history, it should have a good theme, it should have an industry which is not very competitive, there should be good corporate governance, the accounting should be good, the growth should be good, valuation should be good, results should be good, except that you will never get all of them together. This is theory to be told, so that when you ask a fund manager, how did you get all of these? He'll say, in 2008 September, when everything was bad and the valuation was also bad, but I knew the company is very good, see, I bought it. Or they will say in March 2020, when we were speculating that even if we die, it's okay, but if we don't die, we'll make a lot of money, everything was good. But rest of the out of the 100 months, 98 months are where these things don't work together. If something is very good, it'll be very expensive. If something has a bad history, it'll be very cheap. And so generally you'll have to do trade-off. But the point is, we don't know what is good. I will explain on management and on what is good. Nobody knows. Today you see Mr. Dasari Rao resigning. So is the management of Eicher? So there is no management, or now suddenly management is Siddharth Lal? Is the management of some Mahindra group the management of Mr. Mahindra? Then nobody would buy. Or is it the management of the tech company? Because in Nestle, we will say that a guy who comes from outside for 3 years is management. Because previous guy was a Swiss guy who never bothered about India. He was taking it as a posting. Some guy takes it as a career. Some guy takes it as his way to shine. Nobody knows these things ahead of time. What is motivating them, driving them? Is he here as part of his going up the ladder, whatever? But anyway, so these are the 8 factors. So we say we don't know what is good. But first, let us make sure that we don't buy the bad. So we don't know whether 30p is good or 35p is good, but we know that 80p is bad. We don't know whether every line of accounting has to be met or not. Because somebody may say, my foreign exchange currency debt, I am not taking it. I mean, they don't say it, but we say it. So they will not count the cost of that, because they will count it in dollar interest, whereas the depreciation causes them loss. And therefore it is, in a sense, misrepresenting of accounts. But do you say that I will never buy a company because it is not having clean accounting? Or will I only count some super bad cases of accounting as my examples? Because in all of this, there are trade-offs. If I say management is good, do I say management is good? Also, the board is good. Does it the board is good or the succession planning is good? Succession planning is good or ESG is good? We don't know. It will never end. But we know what is bad. So we say that an employee, if he steals money, he is bad. If an employee doesn't steal money, he's not good. He's not supposed to steal. What if an employee works hard and delivers on what he's supposed to deliver on? Is he good? Mr. Agarwal, you tell me. If an employee does exactly what you want him to do, is he good?
He's supposed to do that.
Yeah, no. He may be doing outside. Let's say he goes beyond that. But he may still not be good because he harasses women. But if he harasses women, we don't need to know other things. He's bad. If he does not do his job, he's bad. Doesn't matter that he doesn't harass women. So the point is the bad can be done with one line. The good, there is no end. And therefore, we refuse to do so much work. We have never worked so much for this 550 times that this PMS is making us do by doing these things and explaining to the world because of the new way this world is working. The point is, bad is easy. And so one day I say that I'm going to do an ETF where what I have to do when we get mutual fund, and I'm telling everybody they can do it, then I won't do it, doesn't matter. You take these 8 factors, or maybe you bring 1 or 2 more factors. You start with the 100 stock universe. You reject only 2 companies on each factor. So you reject 16 companies. Very easy to do. You take 2 companies and say bad theme. Bad theme could be, in today's context, it could be some, state-owned banks, other than State Bank, let's say. Or you could say some industry where the government policies are very much, interfering kind or something. Then you say 2 companies only I will not buy, which are very high P. I'm not saying that every high P company I will not buy. I will not buy 2 companies. I will not 2 companies which are really bad corporate history, which we all know about. And doesn't matter if they also do well, but I will only reject 2. And I will reject only 2 companies where we clearly know that there are no medium-term triggers in these days. Let's say auto, something. And you buy 85 companies, guaranteed every year you'll outperform the index. Because the point is to do better than the index. You can either buy the good companies or you can reject the bad companies. And so we say reject as many as possible. And when you can't reject, which is normally 50% you can reject, then you say between the what is not rejected, what to do. Should I buy all of them, some of them? Then you're able to find, you'll say 3 private sector banks or 6 private sector banks you could reject because they looked good on all of these. There is no need to say I will buy 1. There is no need to say, which is what really pisses me when they say, why are you buying a 3rd bank? Why couldn't you buy more of the 2nd bank? Because we don't know which one is what. So let me give you some numbers. So this year, 1 year, rolling 1 year. In the United States, the market is up 35%. Okay. And Amazon is up 5%. And Google is up 60%. And Netflix is also up some 5-7%. And Microsoft, I think, is up 40%. And Facebook is also up some 34%. How would you know last year that suddenly this year, 1 year, Amazon is not going to go up? Even today, people feel that Amazon bada chal raha hai. Look at India. Our fund is up some 85% in this period. And our number 1 holding, I think, is flat. No, actually, it's not flat. It's a flat this calendar year with HDFC Bank. So look at this year. HDFC Bank is like flat or up 5%. Kotak is down 5%. State Bank of India is up 60%. So this idea that you know exactly whose turn it is next, we don't believe. We say differentiate the good from the bad, then try and choose from the good if you can. And mostly it works out, but you don't know ahead of time whose turn it is next. And it has nothing to do with the quality. It has nothing to do with history. It has to do with the mood of that year. It has to do with the mood of that year, that which stock will the market choose. And it is not that they are choosing cheaper stock, expensive stock. Once in a while, that also is happening. Like these days, you can say some under-owned stock. So that's why I buy some of those also, because under-ownership is not one of our factors. So quickly, so these are the themes that we like. Basically saying that if stocks don't fit the theme, we will, it'll not cross the theme hurdle. But because we are old guys and because we have serious money of our own invested and because we are humble guys, we don't say that if a stock doesn't fit our theme, it has to be spit upon. So in the end, we have 15% or so of the fund in stocks which don't fit our theme, but they looked very good in themselves. For example, we say we buy only private companies, and we say on the next page that we don't buy state-owned companies. We don't buy state-owned companies or avoid. But currently, State Bank of India is our second largest holding. I'll be showing that how we bought it. So the point is that broadly speaking, these themes have worked for us and we like them. And these themes, I'm not going to take you through this because I'll better answer questions, is private sector financials, under penetrated urban consumer and tech pharma specialty chemicals. But that doesn't mean that, for example, we own Tata Steel also, and we own State Bank, and we say on the next slide that we don't buy commodities and we don't buy state-owned companies. What that means is normally we don't buy. But the world is not waiting for my approval. World is not waiting that I announce that these 10 companies are the best companies of India, so the 11th company is to be spit upon and insulted in public. No, those 10 might be good companies, but the world will look beyond that also. And we have to listen to the world. So we have 10, 15% in stocks which don't fit our theme, as long as we, to remind everybody who are doing one country, who have more experience than people doing 40 countries, are allowed to also analyze a commodity company, even though generally we don't like them. That's what I meant. So then quickly, so these are the other factors, and the whole idea is to reject, because rejection has higher conviction than acceptance, because rejection you can do with a few factors and it's enough. Now the thing is, somebody may say that you might reject too many stocks out of your strongly held views. For example, we say we don't buy Tata Motor. And we can come to that. But the point is, somebody will say, but then what if it goes up? We say it doesn't matter, because a large number of companies do well each year. It is again basically a Warren Buffett-led mistake that very few companies create wealth. The way they are looking at it is from point A to 30 years later, as I was telling you. And that is by definition, all the things that we hold today are also going to disappear some 30, 40 years later. But that doesn't mean that we will say because it may not exist in 27 years. The point is every year, every period, because of the way index is calculated, and our job number one is to beat the index. A large number of companies, because of arithmetic, beat the index. Please ask questions on this later whenever whoever is not clear. So let's say there are 500 companies in the S&P 500. Okay, and we are saying let us say because actually there are 505 instruments. But it cannot be the case that 20 companies will beat the index and 480 will be beaten by the index. It is just not arithmetically possible. This is the data for the last 16 years. We always start this from 2005 because that is when we started Helios. So if you see here, on average, some 230, 40 companies beat the index. So in theory, to beat the index, if you had bought that 240th best performing stock, only one stock, which is the worst out of the 240 stocks, you would have beaten the index. But normally, if you buy 20, 30 stocks, some of them will be, let us say, below 250, but some of them will be above. And that is your work to say, is it in the top half or bottom half first? Don't have to go and say, is it the best company of India? Because nobody knows which is the best company of India in terms of stock price. Because maybe it's discounted. But look at the performance of the 150th best stock. You shall every day touch everybody's feet if your entire portfolio was no better than the 150th best stock of the US market, because there will be only a few hundreds % better than the best fund manager there. Now look at India, because it is so volatile. This is for 300 companies. The 90th best stock, if you could buy, you would have been up 57 times. So this idea, but the point is you will not know. Like last year, we bought Dixon. How would anybody know that this stock is supposed to go up 300%? You're not supposed to know, and neither that fellow knows, nor you know, nor the market knows. But it went up because some stocks will suddenly go up a lot. And at the beginning of the period, you will not know. So the way to do that, according to us, is this, that you should have two kinds of stocks. Now I'll do very quickly. One is stocks which offer high confidence, but as soon as they offer high confidence, the returns will become reasonable. These are the HDFC Bank, Kotak Bank, TCS, Infosys types, where the stock is well known and it has well discovered, but you still believe that it has room and opportunity and good management and blah, blah, blah. So it will do better than the market by a few percent point, but you're not supposed to get re-rating again on these. These stocks are already re-rated. They are already rated. Now, if you can get the earnings, delightful. If you get more than earnings, slowly, it becomes uncomfortable. Initially, you will enjoy it. The second group is, again, where on those 8 factors, there was nothing negative. And on some factors, there was a positive. Like in Dixon, it was a trigger that the government was putting restrictions on Chinese this thing and increasing duties, so it'll help domestic, whatever. So you will buy 2% in those kind of companies, different companies, some because they are suddenly doing badly and then doing well, or basically they have all the 8 factors. Maybe we should take some questions, and please tell me the time. Otherwise, I'll stop wherever you say.
Yeah, so maybe we'll conclude the presentation and then take the questions.
Yeah, correct. Because I'll have some of these slides, maybe one of. Okay, so let's start with the Q&A, whatever you take.
Okay, sure. So we'll start with Q&A now. Please type in your question in Q&A box. So the first question is, need some insights on shorting strategy of Helios.
No, shorting strategy is not part of the Indian PMS. And for the offshore fund, we are not selling. So let's not waste our time right now. A little bit, we have to do a selling of our fund also. But in general, we short 20 stocks at all times, and each stock is only around 2%. So we are short 35, 40% all time. And sometimes the objective is not so much to make money on the short, but to play the difference between the short and the long. So if we can make more money on the long, on those which are trying to be paired against these shorts, we are only playing for the difference. But that is a separate topic for another 1 hour.
Sure. The next question is, what's the minimum threshold of investment? So that is 50 lakhs. And is there a way retail investor can participate? No, the threshold.
When we have mutual fund.
Yeah.
If we have mutual fund, because who knows, you need approval for that.
Yeah. Any thoughts on the machine-based trading? If it is secure, how does it explain the collapse?
We don't do it. We don't do it because we are too old-fashioned for that. But in general, my impression would be that a machine plus human might be better than machine only. And if you see in, let's see the big guys, Blackstone, Fidelity, all these guys, or even in India, HDFC Mutual Fund, all these guys, they should have led this effort if it was really so good, because they are basically not, for me, for example, if I have no history or background in machine-based trading or machine-based investing, it is more difficult for me to bring another guy and say, you do it, although I don't believe in it one bit. But for a company of, that size, so nobody has done it really to any scale other than this high frequency trading, which is a very different thing than the investing thing that we have in mind. And the high frequency trading thing, if done in India, God knows what the tax rate also on that would be. So they'll have to really do all these things which Sucheta Dalal wrote about to do really well. And we are traditional guys. We don't know all these things.
Sure. Other interesting question is, do you advise people to take up PMS at this point of time where a broad-based rally is already seen and the market's breadth appears to be reducing?
So that is nothing to do with our PMS. That is, the question should be whether you should invest in the market or not. In general, whether you take PMS or mutual fund or anybody. So I would say that it doesn't seem to be a super bad time. And there are some, this thing that, see, in the end, the market timing is the toughest part, whatever be anybody's history and track record. So I would say it's an okay time to invest, and over time you shall make this much money. Sometimes if the timing is super bad, then only you have to think that, is it like a 2007 December kind of a period, or somewhere where you can lose 25-30%? That doesn't look likely to me. But 5-10% up down, to who knows, it can happen without us even realizing why it happened. It's an okay time, just like any other normal time. And very rarely is it the best time possible and sell your house and invest. So it's like a normal good time. Or your objective is to beat other alternatives, which is fixed income, gold, etc. That normally equities market itself does quite handsomely, and then some fund managers may beat it even more by beating the index.
Sure. So in your India house view, which are the 2-3 sectors that you are very bullish on?
So I presented that we are basically liking only 3 themes for longer term, and some themes are more, like we bought this Tata Steel and all. But from a longer term, big picture basis, we like tech, number 1 or number 2, and financials. And we also like consumer, but many of these consumer companies have become super expensive. So we have bought some other, like we own these food guys like Jubilant and Westlife and all those. But the consumer staples are too expensive. And in the other fund, we are short some of them. But otherwise, long-term, big picture right now, if you were to say 2 themes, it should be financials and software.
How about pharma?
Pharma is also good. We have it, but pharma in last few days has to be analyzed. There is so much pressure on US pricing that each and every company is reporting the same thing again and again and again. So it'll take some time to, can't then suddenly next week all these things will go away. Plus, there have not been many visits by the FDA guys. So there are no new approvals coming, and everything is stuck because those US inspectors are not coming and all that. So pharma, we have quite a bit now, like some 9-10%. But you said 2 sectors. So in those 2, we are not putting pharma.
Sure. Okay. So the other question is similar to the previous question, is asking that if I have 10-15 lakhs rupees, can I invest with you guys? The answer is no at this point of time. As in when they
right
have
now,
mutual fund license, then we can
correct.
look at it. But the minimum threshold limit for any PMS is 50 lakhs.
That
So
is SEBI. Yeah, that is SEBI
yeah.
requirement. Correct.
Why do fund manager invest in 30-35 stocks? How much diversification is actually good according to you?
I just explained that actually, according to us, if you could even buy the 90th stock, you would be so far ahead of the market. Not that you know which is the 90th stock. The point being, you could have bought any of the 90 stocks and you would have done much better. So point being, since we don't know which is the 90th stock or best stocks, we are putting down our bets on the table. So my theory on that, actually, I have a slide which we didn't read. This is my theory. Be the casino, not the gambler. What that means is that why is it that the casino always wins? Because the casino has a small advantage over the gambler. So let me explain. So in a roulette, where you get this ball moving around, you get 36 times your money. But actually, there are 38 numbers there. It looks as if there are 36 numbers, but there are 38 numbers. How? There is a 0 and a double 0, and then 36 numbers. So if you were to put a bet on all of those 38 numbers, you will pay the casino 30, and he will pay you 36. So he'll keep 2. So he has that there are 30 chance, believe of anybody is 1 over 38, but you will get only 36 times your money. So he has a small advantage. Now that small advantage means, it does not mean that, let us say we found a small advantage, a very small advantage over the market because of using these factors with research and whatever experience. Then we must put slightly more bets on the table. If you put 1 bet on the table, the market can win. I short some stock, suddenly that stock gets taken over. Then what is the use of my research if I played a small bet? If I have a process, and our process we showed you was so good that even when I left and Alliance was in the process of being sold, it still beat the market by some 90% in 2 years, because the process has to be sound. So the process is to put 20-30 bets on the table and then hope that some of them will work. It is ridiculous to say because this stock worked for 30 years, it is supposed to work. I don't have time to present, but I have all that here. So you put 30 bets, 35 bets, doesn't matter. Look at what Peter Lynch did. He would buy 100 stocks and he beat the market by 12% per annum for like 15 years. You look at all these hedge funds who report their quarterly statements. You look at the number of stocks they report. You look at how much you type Warren Buffett. I have it in one of these presentations you can see on YouTube. You look at Rakesh Jhunjhunwala. How many stocks did he buy to get Titan? He has made his money in 5-6 stocks, major money, right? In Titan and Lupin and Crisil and let's say some others. But you look at the number of stocks he's bought, 100. And then 10 worked very well. Some broke even, some he lost. But in the end, to choose or get those 10 stocks, he did not buy 10 stocks.
The next question is, please let us know how much allocation you do keep for a stock for which you have strong conviction, 5, 10 or 20.
No, we just told you our biggest position, we don't buy above 7.5, and we don't keep it above 10, and we have never, at least in the Helios days of 16 years, never reached a stock at 10. The idea, once again, this is like reading the Ramayana and asking me who's Sita or Ram. We say there is no such concept of high confidence. There is not even a category in our mind. We say high confidence means reasonable return. Reasonable confidence means high return. There is no concept of high confidence, high return. There is no such concept.
Next question is, have you started PMS in India? The answer is yes, Abdul. They've already started PMS completely.
So here we can show you quickly.
Yeah.
All these slides you're not being able to see. So next time we will do it on some other forum. Okay, so this is our thing. So we started in March and we are up. So see, we have a large number of STP investors. That means people who basically invest slowly but give us the money. So for the guys who are saying invest, we are up 82%. For the people who said take 5 months, that brought down their return because in good days they were still in cash. But normally when we compare, we have to say where we could invest, what we chose to invest, and not if the guy said don't invest and gave us the money still. But even that guy is up 70% or whatever. And this month we are again up some 3% or something. So from March we are up some 85% right now.
Okay, other interesting question is, if a PMS is an absolute return strategy like owning stocks that are consistent compounders, then
no, it is not. There is no such word. These are all wrong words and storytelling. There is no such thing as consistent compounder. If you want, I can show you that, because that is all in hindsight. I just showed you that if in 2000 you had to choose between Lever and Nestle, there's not a chance in hell you would have chosen Nestle. It turned out that Nestle is a compounder. In 2003, you could not have bought Kotak Bank because it had just become a bank and he was a broker. So if you say we like quality management, how do you know he's a quality banker? In HDFC Bank in 1995, which I own since then, this fellow had come from Citibank, Malaysia. So you can say he's great, but who would have thought it's something great, because there was a GTB bank and that guy was a well-known banker. And we recently saw Yes Bank, and that guy was a great banker in his previous job, working for Rabobank and all that. So consistent compounder is only hindsight. And we are not interested in hindsight investing. So there is no such thing. Now start the question, please. What was the question again?
How will the Helios give a return if the index does not perform?
So if index does not perform, we will not perform very differently. Normally, our history is to beat it by 5-6%. But when index performs is more often than when index does not perform. And as I have already shown you 25 years of history, there's no point in my answering a question for somebody who may have seen 1 year history of somebody. There's no answer. This is the 25-year history. We have lived through Asian crisis, Russian crisis, global crisis. We have lived through attack on parliament, Kargil war, parliament which lasted 13 days when Vajpayee was there, parliament which suddenly the market fell 17% in a day. We've had UPA too. People have been arrested, billionaires arrested, government people arrested. We've had droughts. So this is the return, only 500 or 400 or 300, whatever you want to call it, but very different from the market.
So what's the kind of personal net percentage of net worth which is allocated to equities currently of yours, A, and B is how much is in PMS, Indian PMS?
So my money is in the offshore PMS. and the money is larger than the PMS which we have currently. So it's big money, but here I'm not here to discuss my net worth in that sense. But in the offshore fund, I am the largest investor, and the same stocks are being bought. But I will not buy a PMS in India directly, because the fund manager directly buying stocks is a very painful thing, whereas we would rather buy a fund. And in any case, because I'm an NRI, so I have it in the same stocks, but I have it through a different vehicle, which is our offshore fund.
Yeah. So do you have pre-designed PMS portfolio or making portfolio
So there's only one guy's portfolio.
Yeah.
It's only the first guy's portfolio. Everything else will be copied to it. If a change has to be made, it will be made to that guy also. Because the whole point I was saying was similar experience for investors. So for example, let's say a fund says that I'll buy 10 stocks and I will not sell because I'm a long-term investor or whatever. So if these 10 stocks are there and one stock is some stock which goes up 100, 200% over, let's say 1 year or whenever, and the other stock doesn't. So after some time, that 10% weight becomes 15%, let's say, okay? And the other stock has fallen. Now a new investor comes in. So is the new investor to start at 15% or is he to start at 10%? Or is it that for the new, so we want everybody to be similar after some time. That leads us sometimes to every day. That's why we need a buffer. We are stopping at 7.5 so that if it goes to 9, we can handle it. But let's say it goes to 11, which we won't allow. But the concept is that for the new guy, you have to think, if it is not worthy for the new guy, it is not worthy for the old guy to hold. Now, sometimes this leads to you're selling for the first guy because you feel not good buying for a new guy. But let me tell you the story of Bajaj Finance. So we bought Bajaj Finance in 2011. And we bought 2% because it was from our second group. That it was a new name, a new finance company. New means finance company was old, but effectively new thing they're trying to do and all that. And it went up 70 times. So if I had never sold it, it would have been some 15, 20% or even higher, depending on what the other stocks did. No, we are not running prop money. We kept it only at 5, 6% throughout its life. And now we don't have it. But we didn't let it go to whatever it goes to because the first guy, we bought it for him. Sorry, we are not running your prop money. We are running a fund. Unfortunately, the structure is as if we are running for each guy separately. We don't have time to deal with each fellow's life history in that sense. No, it is one product. It is just like in a fund. The weights keep shifting, it'll shift. But that is not always unhelpful. So for example, Z, when I bought in 98 and it went up 100 times, then from 2000 March to 2000 December, it fell 70%. Okay, but because we are in a fund and we had to sell every time it crosses 10, from 98 to 2000, we sold so much and still it was 10. But it was 10. So when a guy who came in, let's say in December 99 or January 2000, he lost. So am I going to go and tell him, I don't care for you. My first day guy made 90 times on this stock. No, I have to answer him also. So these are the things where, the act of taking profit from that angle is a luxury. We would love that luxury, that we are trimming it only because it has gone up so much.
So I think more or less most of the questions have been answered. Couple of questions that I wanted to ask Sameerji is that whenever you talk to any investor, there's always been a confusion: large cap lena chahiye, mid cap lena chahiye, small cap lena chahiye, and this debate is always there. You turn on your CNBC and see that the discussion is going on around that. But you have a multi-cap approach in your PMS.
तो इसका ये आंसर है जी कि आपको सब कुछ लेना चाहिए क्योंकि आपको पता नहीं है किसका नंबर आएगा. तो हमारे में, as I said, you are buying in the end because the themes are large capish. Because if you say consumer, mostly large हो जाता है, tech pharma mostly large हो जाता है, and financial भी mostly large companies ही हैं. But consumer में थोड़ी small हो जाती हैं आजकल, and maybe a little bit in software. So we are about 70% large cap, 30% small cap. So we say if you look at our fund, effectively people are buying 2 funds. क्योंकि एक फंड में आदमी कहे कि मैं जी बड़ा हाई क्वालिटी लेता हूँ, तो वो हमारा भी 70% उस टाइप का है. कोई बोले कि जी मैं मिड कैप लेता हूँ, मैं ये ट्विस्ट लेता हूँ, मेरे 300% बढ़ गया, हमारा भी 300% बढ़े। वही तो मैं आपको स्टॉक दिखा रहा था कि वो सबके ही बढ़ते हैं जो उस टाइप की चीज लेंगे। तो ये जैसे हमने ये ले लिया, हमारे 126 बन गए, इसमें हमारे ऑलरेडी 90 बन गए 6 महीने में, इसमें हमारे 200 बन गए, सबके बन जाते हैं क्योंकि वो सेक्टर और स्टॉक्स ऐसे हैं। सो वी वांट टू बी अ कॉम्बो ऑफ द टू, because we don't want to be, as we keep saying, we don't want to be a one cycle wonder. अगर आप 2017 के पीएमएस स्कीम्स देखें, अब मैं नाम नहीं बोल रहा पर आपको पता होना चाहिए, तो बड़े वो किसी और कंपनी से आए थे, म्यूचुअल फंड से, एंड उनका फंड उसके बाद कहानी खत्म क्योंकि 2017 के बाद करेक्शन हो गई। फिर 2019 में एक और आए, उन्होंने कहा जी हम हाई क्वालिटी लेते हैं, फिर वो एक साल से क्वालिटी खत्म हो गई। फिर कोई 2020 में आएगा जी मैं मिड कैप लेता हूँ। ये तो शॉर्ट टर्म है, आप 90 से चलो जब मैं चल रहा हूँ, हर 3 साल में एक नया वो आता है फेज। कभी किसी का फाइनेंशियल ओवरवेट चलता है, फिर किसी का फाइनेंशियल अंडरवेट चलता है, फिर किसी का सिक्लिकल चलता है, फिर किसी का सिक्लिकल नहीं चलता। अभी इंडिया का बिगेस्ट म्यूचुअल फंड मैनेजर साइकिल की वेट करते 7 ईयर्स लगा दिए कि जी मैं तो खाली पीएसयू लेता हूँ। वी डोंट वांट दैट। सो वी से फ्लेक्सी कैप इज गुड बिकॉज वी वांट टू बी ऑलवेज competitive with the market. We should be not first, we should be top 5, 7, 4 so that आप 2-3 सालों के बाद वो आप फर्स्ट या सेकंड हो जाओ because of churn at the top. The churn of the top guy is very high in our business.
So a couple of investors had this feedback, Samirji. Last 1 year, if you look at, or 1.5 years, particularly in India, most of the mid caps and small cap companies have participated well and delivered and outperformed the benchmark significantly. Whereas in your PMS, you had 70% weightage to large cap and only 30% mid and small. So therefore, the gap in terms of returns from any other flexi cap, which
no, it is not. No, that gap is only because you are seeing my STP investors. Please understand, जब PMS नया होगा तो STP वाले का वेट बहुत हाई हो जाता है। आप हमारे फुली इन्वेस्टेड, क्योंकि क्या होता है जो नए इन्वेस्टर आए अगर वो STP के इन्वेस्टर है तो वो कहते हैं कि हमारे को 5 महीने में इन्वेस्ट करो, ठीक है। सो आप यहाँ देखो, ये इसको हटा दो, तो आप नीचे वाले में देखो कि कैश कितना था हमारे पोर्टफोलियो में, नीचे वाले बॉक्स देखो। सो इन सितंबर 2020 वी हैड ओनली 75 इन्वेस्टेड, बट एक्चुअली इट इज नॉट दैट वी वर सिटिंग ऑन 25 कैश। वो हमारा इन्वेस्टर कहता है 5 महीने में डालने हैं, उसको मंथली डालने हैं। सो from our portfolio side we were 98.9 and even 100.0, must have been 99.9 if you see in September. So you see the performance at the top. जो हमारा fully invested investor था, which is the investing which you are comparing to other guys, we are up 82. कोई नहीं मिलेगा आपको, एक आध छोड़ के कोई भी नहीं मिलेगा। लेकिन आप मेरी परफॉर्मेंस देख रहे हो, मेरी तो है ही नहीं, पहली बात तो हमारे बॉम्बे वालों की है, मतलब हमारे हीलियोस की। अगर आप वो परफॉर्मेंस देख रहे हो तो उसमें आप देख रहे हो कंबाइंड पूल की। एंड एज आई वाज सेइंग व्हाट हैपेंस इज वो 5 महीने में एसटीपी इन्वेस्टर फुली इन्वेस्ट हो गया। सो व्हेन द फंड बिकम्स बिगर और ओल्डर, द इंपैक्ट ऑफ अ न्यू एसटीपी गाय इज वेरी लेस, बिकॉज हम तो पहले इन्वेस्ट हो गए, अब आप 4 और आदमी आ गए, लेकिन पहले के 4 ही आदमी हो। So that is why you can see from the cash below that cash is not my choice. So we have beaten nearly everybody, which is what we are supposed to do because we are heroes. We have done it all our life, so it can't be इस साल अब नहीं करेंगे।
Sure.
लेकिन वो हमारी वो है कि प्रेजेंटेशन जो सेबी के अंडर है कि जी आप कंबाइंड करो, तो वी एग्री विद दैट, उसका हम कुछ नहीं कर सकते हैं। बट जो आदमी को क्वेश्चन पूछने का हक है।
समीर जी, इसमें ऐसा सिनेरियो हो सकता है क्या कभी फ्यूचर में कि सपोज यू राइट नाउ फॉर एग्जांपल यू आर 70% इन लार्ज कैप, ओके, क्या कभी सिचुएशन ऐसी हो सकती है कि 70% स्मॉल कैप या मिड कैप में हो जाए ये फंड? नहीं होगी बिकॉज मिड कैप की कोई औकात नहीं है ज्यादा लार्ज कैप को आउट परफॉर्म करने की। मिड कैप इज नॉट अ लॉन्गर टर्म स्टोरी। आप लॉन्गर टर्म 20 साल के इंडेक्स को देख लो, 2-3% आउट परफॉर्म करता है, और उसमें भी वो लार्जर वाले मिड कैप करते हैं। फुल मिड कैप फंड बनाने के लिए आपको मिड कैप फंड में जाना है, लेकिन आपकी हिम्मत नहीं है जाने की, ना होनी चाहिए, बिकॉज दैट इज एन एड ऑन। दैट इज व्हाट वी आर सेइंग, वी आर लाइक अ कोर फंड।
We are not a satellite fund or a super sector mover fund कि आप सडनली कहोगे जी आपके 30% कमोडिटी में हो जाएंगे, नहीं होंगे, क्योंकि हम 25 साल देख चुके हैं, हम सारी चीजें कर चुके हैं, जिस स्कूल में आप पढ़े होते हम प्रिंसिपल रह चुके हैं, अब हम नहीं चेंज करेंगे इतना ज्यादा। हमें ये समझ आ गई है कि मोटा माटी क्या करना है। अब 4-5% आप ऊपर नीचे कर सकते हो बेस्ड ऑन दी ट्रेंड एंड दिस थिंग, बट इट विल नेवर एवर बी द केस कि दी लार्ज कैप, दैट मीन्स यू आर एक्सपेक्टिंग दैट द मार्केट विल फॉल इफेक्टिवली एंड मिड कैप विल गो। आप कभी सुने जिंदगी में? कभी नहीं हुआ। ये सब कहानियां 1-1 साल की हैं, ये नहीं होती कहानी।
As a PMS
आज तक
house,
कोई
आप
पीरियड नहीं।
टाइमिंग मार्केट टाइमिंग पे भरोसा रखते हैं? डू यू बिलीव
नहीं
इन
जी,
टाइमिंग?
हमारी यही तो प्रॉब्लम है कि हम टाइमिंग में नहीं करते, इसलिए जब भी कोई लोग बात करते थे हमारे सेल्स वालों से कि जी क्या करें, वो कहते थे जी एसटीपी में डाल दो। अब उन्होंने तो एसटीपी बोल दिया, मेरे फंड में लगता है कि मेरी परफॉर्मेंस खराब हो गई बिकॉज वो कैश कंपनी फंड में आ गया और इन्वेस्ट कर नहीं सकते। तो दी फैक्ट दैट वी हैड सो मच एसटीपी इज बिकॉज फ्रॉम लास्ट ईयर हम कहते थे, वो पूछते ही टाइमिंग क्या करें, वो मेरे से पूछते थे टाइमिंग या दिन शो से पूछते थे। हमने कहा हमें क्या पता, बोलो यार 5 महीने में डाल दो, एवरेज करो, देखी जाएगी। So in that first 5 months, they underperformed because the market has not stopped going up. But since they are fully invested, they are getting like the fully invested guys return. So this timing, we are not experts and neither is anybody. And if somebody else is, please go there in that sense. But it's very difficult. Nobody knows. Nobody knows these things.
Agree. So no more questions from our end, Samir ji. Thank you so much for giving
Thank you
us
very much, Ji. Thank you,
valuable
everybody.
time. It was
Thanks
pleasure
a lot.
speaking with you and
Thank you very much.
great lot of learnings from you. So thank you so much.
Okay. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, everyone. Yeah, in case you have any further questions, you can put a mail to me at vikas@aifpms.com. Thank you.